Greg Andrick here, bringing you another Business Freedom Conversation post. So last week, Argentina raised interest rates to 97%. Imagine if our Fed kept going. Now, why am I telling you about Argentina and 97% interest rates? Well, like the thumbnail on this video says, that could be the U.S. There's not a lot of difference. So the debt deal that McCarthy brokered with the president is to borrow $4 trillion over the next 4 years. How cavalier have they become about borrowing $1 trillion? That's a lot of money. I mean, the debt service on that alone at 5%, which is the current Fed rate, is $200 billion a year. So eventually, just that debt service is going to have to come from either additional borrowings or taxes. But this is why deficit spending is the silent tax. It allows Congress, without hassling you directly, borrow money and spend that we really don't have, and they just pile it up. Now, the U.S. has $32 trillion of debt. This will move it to $36 trillion. That puts us right now at $32 trillion, where our debt is 125% of our GDP. Argentina, who defaults on their bonds and has a massive inflation rate and has moved the interest rate to 97%, has only 85% of his GDP is the debt ratio. So technically, they're a lot better off than us. So why are they having all these problems and we are not? Well, we're headed towards the problems because when we keep deficit spending, Congress clearly believes, and the president in particular, that we will be able to always sell our bonds. To run this kind of a deficit, which also causes a lot of inflation, people have to be willing to buy the bonds. So what is the problem with that? Well, we have another country with over 1 billion people. They're almost 4 times our size. China is taking steps. They have a digital currency. We do not. And they're taking steps. Now, so far, they're mostly inconsequential countries, but with their Belt and Road, they go into places, mostly third world places, that can't afford the work that they do. And when they default on the debt, China basically has a stranglehold on that third world nation, on their economy. But China, simply based upon their billion-plus population and the fact that they are so economically oriented, will eventually overtake our economy, and their economy could be so large just because they got 4 times more people than us, that the world will really want the yuan, their currency, to be the reserve currency. China wants their currency to be the reserve currency. They just have not developed their economy to that point. So here we are, we're able to spend 20% of what Congress spends is borrowed. These are big numbers. These are huge numbers. In previous posts, I have shown you the chart from 2012 to the beginning of 23 rather, 10 years, we've increased the debt by 125%. The debt is 2.25 times larger than it was in 2012. And the only way you can get there is if people want to buy your bonds. So why do I show you about Argentina? Because nobody wants their bonds. Eventually, all this borrowing slows down the economy. People become concerned about default, and then they go somewhere else. And you actively have a player out there, China, that's trying to position themselves. But what does it mean for us today? What it means for us today is that Congress is going to spend a lot of money it doesn't have. That'll be inflationary. And in the future, it's going to increase the proportion of the budget that's non-discretionary. Right now, it's approximately 60% to 65% of the U.S. budget is already mandated. And part of that, over 10% of the budget, just pays the interest on the debt. And here they're going to make a significant increase in the debt, 12, 13, 14%. Like I said, at 5%, it's going to take $200 billion a year to service this debt, either with new taxes or selling bonds. And if we can't sell the bonds, guess who they're looking at? And that's in taxes. And look at what it's done to Argentina's economy when all of a sudden people that are spendthrifts can't spend anymore. So Argentina is continually wrecking their economy because people believe that they need to provide those benefits and they borrow them, and look at what happens. And isn't that the same story we're experiencing now? One side feels that everybody deserves all these benefits, stimulus checks, eviction moratoriums, moratoriums on student loan payments, supplemental unemployment insurance, and everybody out there is awash in cash. Now that's burning out. But you, the business owner, you're the person they're going to tap for this. So be aware of it. I have a video from CNN that we've edited to show you the most important parts of what happens to a nation when they can't borrow anymore, and more particularly, if they default. There's a lot of people saying they're not going to vote for this compromise that McCarthy and Biden have worked out, and if we default, what's in this video is what we could do. And that's why I put USA on the thumbnail. Subscribe to my newsletter, watch the next one, look out, be concerned to speak to your congressman about spending and taxes, because the spending is out of control. See you on the next one.
Workers say the government of Argentina is taking money from the working class to pay the International Monetary Fund. Last month, Argentina reworked a $44 billion loan with the IMF, obtaining nearly $10 billion in fresh cash in exchange for measures to strengthen public finances and start reducing persistently high inflation. The inflation we're living today in Argentina is terrible. It feels like never before. According to government figures, Argentina's yearly inflation rate rose past 100% in February for the first time since 1991. The black market peso weakened to 438 per US dollar, a drop of 4% according to an analysis by Reuters. That's double the official rate of 218 per dollar. The government was already struggling to rein in rising prices.